The northern region of South America is home to the Amazon basin, which in turn hosts a wide variety of fascinating rainforest dwellers, with one of the most odd-looking being the Surinam toad. What looks at first like a dead frog that's been crushed by a car is actually just a flat toad that's sunk to the bottom of a slow-moving river. Like any stressed-out parent, she just wants her kids to get off her back. And like most kids, they tend to get under her skin. But that's just the best way to keep your offspring safe here in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome back to Life, Death, and Taxonomy. It's your 30 minutes of interesting animal information. I'm Joe.
And I'm Carlos.
Thank you to Cassie for the creation of our theme song. To hear more of Cassie's music, please search Cassie Michelle on YouTube.
And thank you to Brian for the creation of this week's artwork. It is exceptionally exceptional this time. If to see his artwork, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter at LD Taxonomy, or visit us at our home on the web at ldtaxonomy.com.
And today we're talking about a horror pancake, but more on that later.
I just want everyone out there to know how much I care about you. That I would choose this animal of all animals because I hate it the most. Of all the animals we've done, this is my least favorite one. And it might be yours too. All you have to do is just look it up.
A trypophobia warning. If you have trypophobia.
Yeah, if just triggered by audio audible descriptions, then either muscle through it or click on to the next episode.
Wait till you hear a description before you look it up, at least.
Yeah. Oh, okay. What are we talking about?
Talking about the common Surinam toad.
Yeah, I had a hard time. I got tripped up researching this because I kept typing in the country name with the E at the end. Suriname. But it's not Suriname. It's Surinam.
But it's called that because it lives in Surinam.
I know. I don't know why it's not. I mean, it lives in a lot of countries. But
one of which is Suriname.
Don't know why they just took the E off. But yeah, they did. It's Suriname.
You got lipstick in my common Suriname toad?
But it's also called the star-fingered toad, which is, I guess, less confusing. But we're going to call it here the triggered trypophobia toad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And then baby back nibs. Okay, anyway. Taxonomize this.
Okay, it's in the kingdom you know, love, and are in the kingdom Animalia.
I knew it.
The phylum is Chordata. The order is Anura, which is...
Wait. We missed one.
Oh, the class. What class is this in? Come on, it's a toad. Amphibia. It's in the order Anura, which is frogs and toads. And then the family is Pipidae. And the genus is Pippa. And the species is pig. Just kidding.
Pippa pig.
The species is also Pippa. Pippa.
Goodness. You're on a sister.
I have not
watching
watched
binge.
Sister since probably the 90s. Which I don't even know. Did it start in the 90s?
Probably not. Or maybe started in the 90s. I don't know. But since we're in the business of naming things, it's time for my favorite part of the show, nitty-gritty nomenclature.
It's completely in the 90s. The final episode date was 1999.
Oh, for some reason I thought it went into the early 2000s.
Feels like it did.
It was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Yes, it's time for nitty-gritty nomenclature, since we already know what a bunch of toads are. So, that means in this segment, nitty-gritty nomenclature, I ask you, Joe, what the binomial nomenclature means in English, or the closest translation of it. And since it's Pippa, it's the same word twice. So, does Pippa Pippa mean A, star, star, B, hole, hole, C, pipe, pipe, or D, flat, flat? Basically, star, hole, pipe, or flat. What does Pippa mean?
I have to think about this. You should have waited.
I should have waited?
No, I was just making sounds like Sigmire of Katarina.
Oh.
Yeah. Aggressive humming. I mean, whatever. Pipe sounds right. I can see some early people thinking about pipes when they think about this.
Does pipe make right, though?
Huh? Yes?
Like might makes right?
Oh. You know what? Hole. Is that what one of them? Hole. Let's go with hole. Because what is a pipe if not a hole?
Whoa. It's just a hole you can hold.
Yeah. Yeah.
A holding hole.
And then there was a huge debate on the internet whether a straw or a pipe has two holes or one hole.
I would say two. I'd say it's each end is a hole because it's an opening.
Is the hole an entrance to something?
It's
a completely enclosed space.
No, it doesn't have to be completely enclosed. It's just it's a roundish entrance.
So a hobbit hole has a round door.
Yes. So roundish.
Yeah.
Roundish entrance. There.
And if he has a back door, if Bilbo has a back door,
then he has
you wouldn't
it's a hobbit
say
tunnel.
he has two hobbit holes. He has one.
Nah,
hobbit
that's
hole.
that's just what that's the colloquial name for the hobbit's house.
Yeah, I'm going with hole. Final answer.
Incorrect. The answer was pipe.
Well, dang.
It's Latin for pipe. It actually has quite a few translations in different languages, but this is Latin for pipe. And it's likely because of its nose rather than its other most distinguishing feature.
Oh, interesting.
But I'm sure we'll talk about its nose now or soon.
Description, are you ready?
Yep.
I don't see how its nose is a pipe, but it does come to a little triangular point.
It's two little tubes, kind of like soft-shelled
Oh, I
turtles.
see. Yeah. Two tiny tubes. Very small tubes. But
All noses are tubes.
all noses are holes. The Surinam toad comes pre-smushed, so your minivan doesn't have to do the work. It's almost completely flat, so that it looks like a fallen leaf. And look like a fallen leaf it does. It comes in brown, light brown, and dark brown, depending on the fashion of the season. And it has tiny little beady eyes.
That's why I don't trust them.
I wrote tiny beady little eyes. Now, does that follow?
Because you have tiny and little. No.
No, yeah, tiny and little need to be together.
No, they're superfluous. They're redundant.
Well, they are, but it's for the effect. It's so small. It's like in the Bible. Things are repeated when they're very little.
Surely, I say to you, these are tiny little eyes.
Yeah. So that's what it looks like. It's basically a flat brown toad with tiny eyes, tiny little tube noses, and it's weird to look at. Looks like it's smushed. But that brings us to something else. Something great. Welcome to the Beloved Interrupt segment, the official listener's favorite part of the show. The part of the show when we present the animal size, the dimensions, in relatable terms through a quiz that's fun for the whole family. It's also part of the show that's introduced by you when you send an audio of yourself saying, singing, or chittering the words measure up into ldtaxonomy@gmail.com. We don't have a new Measure Up intro this week. So that means we get to hear from an animal, and Carlos has to guess what it is.
It's in my contract.
It is in the contract.
Which is expiring soon, I hope.
Without further ado, the listener's favorite part of the show. One more. He screamed.
It sounds like my son. Just out of nowhere, screaming and scaring all of our guests.
He does that. Is that A, raccoon, B, a marmot, C, a blue jay, D, a nutterjack toad, or E, a borrower on a tiny roller coaster?
A borrower?
You don't know what a borrower is?
Outside of someone who borrows things, no.
It's a tiny person. Haven't you ever watched The Secret World of Arrietty or The Borrowers?
No.
Both of them deal with borrowers. They're tiny people that live in the walls and borrow items from your home.
They're the reason why I'm missing guitar picks and half of my socks?
Yeah. I don't know if they'd use socks, but they'll take grapes and stuff.
I hate it when I lose my grapes. All right. What was the nitty gritty toad or whatever?
Nutterjack toad?
Nutterjack toad. Huh. Raccoon, blue
Or
jay,
natterjack.
marmot, or natterjack toad. I'm going to go with marmot.
Marmot, final answer?
Yes.
That is correct.
Yes. I finally got one of these right.
The marmot scream.
I know it's not a blue jay or a raccoon.
I think we've done a marmot before on this because there was a famous marmot like video that people would like dub over them screaming something else.
Oh, yes. I do remember that. I thought that was like a groundhog or something. I guess it was a marmot.
It was a marmot. Let's talk length. They're 20 centimeters or 8 inches.
The Surinam toad, not the marmot.
Yeah. How many Surinam toads go into the height of Julianatop, Surinam's tallest mountain?
Julianatop?
Uh-huh.
That sounds like an actress.
Well, it's a queen. The highest peak is visually interesting with rounded rocky walls. I really set myself up to fail there. Rounded rocky walls rising out of the trees.
Rounded rocky walls rising. Wacky rounded rocky walls rising.
It was named after Juliana, the Queen of the Netherlands from 1948 to 1980.
You said 8 inches, or right?
Mm-hmm.
I just need to study a chart of
Topography?
like large mountains, yeah, and get an idea of their. Because I'm always caught off guard by this. We'll say 15,000 feet.
15,000 feet?
Yes.
What's Everest?
36, I think. 22,500. That's how many toads go into the height of this.
The final answer?
Yes. Of this mountain.
The correct answer is 6,298 toads.
Oh boy, that was a...
It's a little mountain. Julianatop is 1,280 meters or 4,199 feet.
It's like a little taller than Mount Dora. Mount Trashmore.
Let's talk weight. 3.5 to 5.6 ounces. So how many Surinam toads go into the weight of the world's largest ever pancake?
Oh, no.
Here's a hint. The pancake was made in 1994 in Rochdale. You know, it's in England, so you know it's going to be like, you know, Rockadale or something like that. Manchester.
Like Rochefort?
Yeah. It was made for Pancake Day. Or no, maybe not. Maybe it's just a something that we celebrate to this day on Pancake Day. But its diameter was nearly 50 feet.
Oh boy. I'm gonna say it was a ton. Pancake weighed a ton.
Which kind of ton?
The best kind of ton.
A short ton?
So I was gonna say it's 5,700 toads of weight.
Final answer?
Yes.
The correct answer is 18,896 toads of weight.
Oh boy, so it's like three and a half tons.
3 metric tons, or 6,613.8 pounds.
Boy, I am hungry.
It's like the weight of an elephant.
Wow.
And when you're so hungry you could eat an elephant's worth of pancakes, that's where you would need to go.
That's hyperbole at its finest. And the fact that I'm hungry after having thought about this toad for more than a second is impressive.
Well, speaking of this toad, would you like to talk about some fast facts, some rapid knowledge?
Yes.
Besides the fact that they enjoy slow-moving streams in the forest of South America and also swamps and stuff, everything about this toad is horrible. They lie on the bottom of streams thinking about nothing at all. When food comes along, they gobble it up. The Surinam toad is a predator with no teeth and no tongue. How's that for fun?
It's swallowing things whole.
And how does it get it into its mouth? It hunts prey, like invertebrates and small fish, by grabbing it with its rubbery little star fingers and sliding it down its mouth like Denethor and so many cherry tomatoes.
Home is behind, the worm ahead.
Just somebody do that scene, but have a Surinam toad
stuffing
shuffling,
a worm down its throat.
A water bug into its mouth.
Ugh.
So they also scavenge for food, gobbling up dead things it finds, which is pretty typical of nature. But I just like, as part of this package, it's disgusting. Instead of croaking to attract mates like other frogs, like normal frogs, males will snap the hyoid bone in their throats to create a clicking sound.
Love it. Throat bone snapping is just great. There's your Cosmo Sheldrake album. It's called the Toad Throat Bone Snap song.
His most recent album is just like him using the sounds of different birds and making music out of it. So it doesn't have to be a nasty sound.
No, it does, in my mind. Because I've only heard the one song where he makes a song out of where the rhythm section is just snapping cow bones.
So that's all the nasty stuff out of the way, right? So now we can move on to a major fact that is brighter and more
pleasant.
Pleasant, right?
Yes, this is going to be the most pleasant major fact you've ever heard.
It can't be worse than that. What was that bug that latches on to animals and doesn't let go? And like
the bug that hamstrings frogs and eats them alive, starting with their back.
Frogs just are the receivers and the dolers out of disgusting things.
And then there's the lizard that shoots blood out of its eyes. But I think this one takes the cake as the least pleasant thing. So again, if you are trypophobic, meaning you are adverse to the sight of holes,
especially
together,
clusters of holes,
clustered together, like a lotus pod or a bubbling pancake or a
beehive,
a beehive, or a cluster of eggs or something, or a strawberry with too many seeds.
We just keep listing things for another hour.
This is the time, I guess, to either buckle up or skip forward.
This is the time to face your fear.
Yeah. I mean, it's not fear. It's like it's an aversion.
Depends.
Using the word, using the section, I can't think of what's the last part of a word is called.
Suffix?
Suffix. There we go. Phobia indicates it's like a pathological fear.
Well, some people do have a pathological fear of their phobias, so they might actually be afraid of it, or like be so averse to it that they panic.
Yeah, but this isn't like a panic thing. This is like it's abnormally
for you. You mean
disgusting? No, I was looking into it, and it's not like people just lose their minds when they see something like this. They're just like no, get it away. So, but they're not like I can't function.
There's a clip on like the Maury show or one of those like trash daytime television shows where an adult like rabble rouses. A lady is afraid of olives, and he brings out some olives, and she like absolutely has a panic attack. So I was assuming that the purest form of phobia is that for all phobias.
That sounds like sensationalism for daytime television.
Hey, you know what? I don't know why I didn't think that was a possibility.
Hey, lady, I know you don't like olives a little bit, and you would just kind of get a little queasy if you saw them, but we're going to need you to fall out of your chair if we bring an olive to you.
Sprint off the stage.
Yeah, that's what we're going to need you to do. Otherwise, people aren't going to watch, and we're not going to get those sweet, sweet advertising dollars. Anyway, this major fact is called the toad less traveled.
Nice.
Or more traveled, depending on how you look at it. I can't believe I'm equating this horrifying creature to a Robert Frost poem, but here we go. Frogs are oftentimes good parents. Unusually so. At least before the eggs hatch, they defend the eggs. And we've talked about this with the reticulated glass frog. It's not common for animals that lay like a big clutch of eggs to stick around. Usually fish and insects and things that lay a lot of eggs just rely on the fact that there's a lot of them to propagate their line. But laying eggs in the harsh reality of nature is tough, since there's a lot of critters out there that would love to snack on them, like Baby Yoda, particularly frog eggs. So the best way to keep your eggs safe is to keep them close. But the Surinam toad takes this 2 steps further. Too many steps further. Ugh. So when the mating season starts, the males, like you said, will make a sharp clicking sound rather than a croak or a chirp by snapping their 2 throatal bones together. And if a female is into a male's throat bone clicks, she'll start releasing eggs near him. And she'll do this by kind of flipping, like doing a somersault in the water, and as she somersaults, she'll release several eggs at a time. So she'll do this over and over again. And when the eggs come out, the male will fertilize them and then gently push those eggs onto her back once she's completed her flip. So do this over and over again, where she flips, release some eggs, he fertilizes, and then pushes them onto her back. And they'll repeat this until she's laid about 60 to 100 eggs. And here is where it gets nasty. So the eggs will stick to her back. And so we're talking, this is an 8-inch toad. So it's actually pretty big for a toad. If you hold that 8 inches. I mean, it's the size of like a dinner plate. But there's still 60 to 100 eggs stuck to the back of this toad. And so over the next several days, the female skin will rapidly like rise up and grow around the eggs like a rising tide. And so for a little while, her back will look like the inside of a pomegranate or the final stage of a Resident Evil boss. Just this kind of... Anyway, I'll let your imagination take a wild ride on that. And eventually her skin will completely enclose the eggs. So suddenly she'll look like a normal flat triangular faced tube nosed toad for a little while. But then, after 3 or 4 months, the eggs will hatch. And one interesting thing is the fact that they don't hatch as tadpoles, like almost every other frog out there, and go through that typical life cycle as a little black swimming thing that eventually grows arms and legs and loses the tail. The Surinam toad emerges from the egg as a fully formed toadlet without a tail. But to emerge from the egg, they have to emerge from the skin. So remember, the skin has grown completely over these eggs, and on emergence day, the mother's back will erupt, turn into this honeycomb of holes, with the snout and fingers of tiny toads sticking out as they wriggle their way free. If you are a masochist and so inclined, you can watch a video of this. And it's the worst. It's the worst thing ever. Just 60 to 100 tiny toads and their star fingers sticking out from the back, from the holes in the back of this toad, this flat toad, and they wriggle free. So it's like the thing about trypophobia, at least for me. I'm not like gonna run out of the room, but it's just nasty. It's gross to me. And the worst case scenario is that there are things living inside of all of those holes. That's kind of like it takes its fear of the unknown. It's like there's a bunch of holes. They seem purposeful. Something is probably living in there, and there's a lot of them, like a wasp's nest or something like that. And in the game BioShock, you can inject yourself with this special superpower stuff that makes it so that like a hornet's nest appears inside of your forearm, and then bees and hornets just fly out of your forearms at your enemies. And that's so much worse for you than it is for your enemies. So I never, ever used that. But it's in the promotional, it was in the promotional material for the marketing stuff for that game. And I was like, oh, goodness. So that's like that's worst case scenario. That's the root of the fear, at least for me. And here it is. There's actually things living inside of this, wriggling free, and they're not dangerous, but good gravy. I mean, they're not dangerous to us, but they are dangerous to each other because they'll start chowing down on any food they can find, and that includes each other. So they'll start eating each other in some cases. It's not great for the propagation of the species. You'd think that would have been adapted out or something, but nope. They just munch. Fittest survive and all that.
Well, one nice thing is that the mother doesn't eat them, even if like she's in there, even if they wander into her kill zone.
With her tiny eye spots, she still decides not to eat them. Which is good for her. Like I said, good parents. And then so after all this, you'd think, well, like this mother's body is spent. She's now riddled with she's now the entire Shia LaBeouf movie holes, and now what is she gonna do? Well, it's easy. Barely an inconvenience. She just sheds her disgusting hole riddled carapace, and then gets ready for the next mating season. That's it.
And then he prepares all that time by going to therapy, really kind of unpacking what she experienced.
Well, I will. Yeah, so I actually heard about this on this animal on a podcast that has nothing to do with animals. This is the Dark Souls podcast, and they kept coming back because when you talk about Dark Souls and Bloodborne, these dark fantasy and Lovecraftian horror games, you tend to find yourself gravitating towards some of the more horrifying things in nature, and this is one of them that they referenced a couple times, and I was like, oh man, this is really interesting, and I'm gonna have to do this one. So yeah, I would rather encounter a lizard that spits blood out of its eyes, or a pumice beetle that hamstrings and eats alive its prey, than look at even one more picture of this thing. And that's all I got. Thank heavens.
That's all I got.
All right, you guys finally got to hear an episode that neither of us really wanted to do.
I didn't have a particular. I don't have a particular like phobia of the holes thing. Like when I look at a strawberry or anything that's not disgusting, but the fact that these things burst and wriggle out of her, like you don't have to have tryptophobia or whatever it is to not like to see that.
Wasps' nests don't like trigger you or anything?
No.
No.
I mean, if there was one right next to me and there was wasps in it, it would.
Well, yeah, but not for that reason. Because it's the wasps, not the holes.
Which I think is what, from a, adaptation standpoint, it might be why some people have that aversion. Because
snakes, spiders, holes.
Yeah, things like that usually in nature are often full of stinging or biting insects.
Yeah, I also don't like. I don't know. It's weird. I don't like clusters of things, like fish and toad egg clusters are just abnormally gross to me. Grapes are fine for some reason. I love grapes, but yeah, just the. Ugh. I don't even like the word cluster. It's gross. Or clutch. In this context. I don't mind it when you're talking about cars.
What about when you're talking about like grabbing something?
Yeah, clutch it. That's fine. Or when you
a clutch of eggs?
Something happened that was really fortunate and last minute. But yeah, when you're talking about a clutch of eggs, it's because there are things living in there ready to burst
birdies. It's little birds.
Well, I mean, a clutch of eggs can refer to anything. Eggs.
I usually hear it about like bird eggs. Maybe sometimes reptile eggs.
Yeah, I usually think of it as like as frog eggs, a clutch of frog eggs, or fish. But yeah, that's a Surinam toad. Surinam toad. That's as disgusting as it is. This really is like mom of the year here. Outside of like maybe the giant octopus, which I think we'll talk about at some point. So, are you done? Do you have anything else?
That's all I got.
So, for you out there in Podcastia that are still miraculously listening to this show, float under the radar, stick close to mom, and get out from under your parents' skin, like the Surinam toad here in Life, Death, and Taxonomy.
Hey Taxonomy Titans, thanks for listening to the episode. Just a few quick things. As always, reviews and social media engagement are greatly appreciated, but recommending the podcast to friends is the best way to help us grow. If you'd like some LDT flavored merch, check out teespring.com/stores/taxonomyteas. That's it. Thanks for listening all the way to the end.
Life, Death, and Taxonomy is my favorite in the world podcast.
What a way to start the day.